I've heard a lot of moms' biggest concern when they are considering homeschooling is, how am I going to educate so many kids at so many different age levels? And I had that concern as well. Whenever we first started homeschooling, I felt outnumbered and unprepared. God has really shifted my focus on what it looks like to educate multiple different grade levels and multiple different kids, and turned things upside down so that now I look at the blessings of having all of these different age groups together, doing school and life alongside of one another. So one thing that I have found helpful in homeschooling multiple kids at different grade levels is making sure that they have their own space. So whenever I first started homeschooling, I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And we had like a little white table set up. It only had 2 chairs. It was a tiny little table. We put it in the corner of our bedroom. And that was what we did school on, because we didn't have a whole lot of time to plan, and we just kind of jumped into it. So it was kind of chaos. I remember the kids' books were in stacks in our room, and it just felt unorganized. And the kids felt that too. So even though we stayed at that same little white table, I got this set of rainbow drawers. It had like 5 different colored drawers in it. It was like $20 at Walmart or something. And the kids had their own drawer to put their school stuff in, and that made a world of difference. Now we moved into a smaller house, but we chose to make the living room into our school room. It's the most beautiful room. It's our favorite room. So we're blessed to have a big space now where everybody has their own, space at the table and their own cubbies. But even if you're working in a small space, having something that makes them feel like they have their own space to do school or keep their school makes a really big difference. At least it did for us. It is helpful to create some sort of routine, again, with multiple kids, multiple different ages. Little kids and big kids thrive, I think, better, and I'm pretty sure there are studies to suggest that that is accurate. Routines help. Structure helps. Our 2-year-old now has gotten into the routine and the rhythm of understanding, school is happening generally between this window, so I'm going to get up and be as self-sufficient as a 2-year-old can be. Sometimes screaming for an older sibling to help set up a magnet tile house that fell down or something. But again, we've learned that those distractions are not bad. It's a different type of learning, so we welcome those things. But a schedule and a routine overall has helped all of the age groups to accept what's happening in their day and look forward to it and have a more of a positive attitude, because they know what's expected of them. They know what their day holds, and it's just been a beneficial lifestyle change to have structure and a routine. Another thing that has helped having multiple kids at different age levels is combining subjects. So there are plenty of subjects that you can combine. For instance, this past year, we have a 2nd grader, a 4th grader, and a 5th grader, but they all could do the same history. The curriculum was for 2nd to 5th grade, and so I lumped them all in and we did it together. And that makes a lot less work for you. I mean, once you check one, you know what the answers are supposed to be and you can check them all, but they can also work together, and the older kids can help the younger kids, and it facilitates really great bonding between the kids and makes less work for you. So as much as you can combine subjects, math and language arts, there are subjects that are harder, but as much as you can combine some subjects, I've found it really beneficial and my kids have really enjoyed it. Distractions aren't bad. And I wish that I would have realized this sooner or had this perception sooner. Whenever I first started, my oldest at the time was 5 and my youngest was 1. And I was like, my 1-year-old's going to be all up in my 5-year-old's business, like causing distractions and disruptions and doing all sorts of stuff to hinder education. And that was all a lie. That couldn't be further from the truth. A different type of learning happened. And I'm so thankful that God revealed that to me somewhere along the way, and that's the mentality that we've adapted here. because when the 1-year-old came and wanted help from the 5-year-old, she learned how to be flexible. She learned how to be patient. She learned how to stop what she was doing and come back and resume it at a different point. And I can't think of any adult job that does not have distractions, that you don't have to sometimes stop to put out fires in other places. It's such a necessary skill that I can't believe I didn't even think of it on my own or notice it sooner. So now, our 2-year-old will want to set up a doll in the dollhouse and it'll just keep falling over. And he'll call to our 5th grader and she'll stop what she's doing and she'll go and help him. And there's bonding that's happening. There's patience that's being developed. There's character that's being developed for the older kid and somewhat the younger kid. He's learning the value of school and the value of helping. There's just so much different learning happening. It might not be education the way that we think of it, but it's learning that's necessary and a beautiful foundation that you are allowing to be built in your home. So don't look at little kids interrupting the day as a bad thing. Another thing that has helped when you have multiple different age groups is teaching them to be resourceful. So if you've got a bunch of different kids doing a bunch of different school that you have to check, or you have to pop around and help each kid with their different subject periodically, it is a relief when they can learn to help themselves. So when you've got, younger kiddos, kindergarten, 1st grade, and sometimes they can't remember what direction a B goes or a D goes, get some maps, put them on the wall, teach them to look there first before they ask you 15 times in 20 minutes. Because it's going to benefit them long term, and it's going to make you more available to help your other kids. I have some behind us, the days of the week and numbers, just basic things that they ask repetitively when they're younger so they can look. And as they get older, we have books, books on adjectives and adverbs and things that they're like, which one is this? And instead of asking me, they can either look back through their book or they can find any of the resources that we have available to them, which again is a skill that they are going to need when they get older, and it frees up time for you, which is beautiful. And the last thing that I wanted to say, it's not really a tip for schooling a bunch of different age groups, but it was something that I felt like the Lord put on my heart that I wish that I would have grabbed onto sooner. And that is, your house is going to look lived in, and that's okay. That's kind of the goal. A lot of parents that talked to me when everything was shut down in 2020, around there, they said that the hardest part of having their kids home was, aside from being with their kids all the time, was keeping their house clean. They actually couldn't educate well or do life well because their house was just so lived in all the time. And that is something that took some getting used to. We teach our kids to do chores. We teach our kids to clean up after themselves. They do their laundry, they make meals, they clean up one thing before they move on to the other thing. But especially when you've got some other little kids potting around, like a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, he's gonna be on the move before too long, making messes and doing things behind everybody else, your house is gonna look lived in. And that's okay. The priority of being a homeschool parent, the priority of the parents who decide to stay home and pour into their kids are my kids' needs being met? And yes, some of those needs are chores, learning to clean up and be responsible for your stuff. But it's also, was I emotionally available? Did I take 10 minutes to go throw the Frisbee with them outside instead of cleaning the house? Because sometimes those throwing the Frisbee moments are what cultivate conversation that are necessary for your kids. Or, did I build Legos with my 2-year-old so that he could learn all of those things, even social skills and building things? Or was I more concerned about cleaning the floor? Your priority needs to be your family and your kids, and it's okay if your house looks like that was the priority. I'm not saying live in a completely unmanaged house, but I'm saying that if things need to slide sometimes somewhat because the needs of your kids are not that you have an immaculately clean house at that moment, that's okay. You have permission to have a lived-in house because it's lived in And that's a beautiful thing. And I don't know if anyone else needed to hear that or if I just needed to say it to myself because of the season that I'm in. But that was kind of how I wanted to close this, because it's something that I've been walking in recently in a real way. So hopefully any of this was helpful. And if you have tips or tricks or things that you have done in your house, homeschooling different ages, or just being home with a bunch of kids all the time, please put it in the comments. I'm always looking to grow and learn and consider new things, and I know a bunch of other people are too. It really does take a village in a big way sometimes. So please leave a comment. Let us know if this was helpful. Let us know what you do at home. And I pray that your school experience is abundantly blessed